Check, check, check. Recine time. Check microphone 2. Okay. So Mike isn't here yet. He's running late, but as soon as he gets here, we will get started. He's usually like so punctual. Like he's usually here on the dot. So I don't know what's going on, but
No, I'm here.
Okay.
I'm here. Hey, everybody. Hey. Sorry. Sorry, I'm just like trying to coordinate something. So actually my aunt is in hospice care right now. And so she has a kitchen table that I'm going to take from her. But I'm selling my old kitchen table. Okay. I'm selling my old kitchen table on Facebook Marketplace. And it's like it's going to be so somebody's coming to pick it up tonight. This is what I said in the listing. I said $100, okay. Pick up only. Pick up only in Brooklyn. I put the address in. Yeah, so Deb is there right now with the kids, and she's gonna she'll get this. But the guy was like, "No, I want it. Yeah, that's a good price." So he's coming. And then if somehow this falls through, I have like two other people who are interested. And he said he's paying cash. He sounds like an Italian guy. Yeah, so he said he's paying cash. So, yeah, so and we'll start the show. Like I'm just gonna give him a quick ring.
To do.
Okay, cool. Okay, let me just. Hey, what's up, Vinny?
Hey, buddy. What's up? It's me, Vinny.
Hi.
Hey, listen, I don't think I'm going to be able to make it tonight, all right? My dog is a little sick, and, we got to take him to the vet, man.
That's all right.
Listen, can you do it tomorrow?
Yeah.
I'll have my sister come wash the dog, and I'll grab it tomorrow if that's okay.
Yeah, tomorrow's good. Jesus Christ. Yeah, I know. That's annoying.
Do you need $100? I could spot you.
You could? Yeah, but I don't know what your terms are with the.
Oh, they'll be very aggressive.
Yeah, of course. Okay, let me see if this. I have two other people who are like, I want the table. Yeah, okay. Jennifer.
Hello.
Jennifer, it's Mike. It's Mike with the table.
Ugh, okay.
So good news. So the guy that was supposed to pick it up isn't going to make it. So the table's available now.
Okay.
So do you want it? If you want to pick it up tonight, I know you can come grab it. It's all yours. It's all yours.
How much was the table again?
$100.
Could you do like 20?
No. It said in the listing that it was firm price and not negotiable.
Yeah, but you sound pretty desperate right
I
now.
got another guy who's interested. I do have another guy who's interested. So
Okay.
I have multiple guys who are interested.
Okay, and what's the brand?
It's like I got it secondhand, but it's nice. There's pictures in the listing. It's a nice table.
You bring it to me?
I don't have a vehicle, and it says in the listing it says pick up only. I mean, I think we talked about this.
Yeah, but again, it's Facebook Marketplace. Yeah, beggars can't be choosers.
All right, so it sounds like this is a no on the table.
Probably not. No.
All right, okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
All right, enjoy your evening, okay?
Yeah, I will. Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Bye.
Jesus Christ. She reached out to me and she was like, she said she wanted the table. $20? $20, I'll put it on the fucking street.
Right.
I'll put it on the goddamn street. Mm-hmm. I'd rather put it on the street. I'd rather throw it off of a bridge.
Mm-hmm. Well, you got another guy, so.
I got another guy.
Is it a guy or a girl?
It's a guy. It's a guy.
Hello?
Tom.
Yes.
Tom, it's Mike from Facebook.
Yeah. Hey,
With the
what's up, man?
with the table.
Yeah.
So
how's it going, dude?
good news. Yeah, it's going good. So good news too. The table.
We have a lot of offers.
Oh, okay. So we have a lot of offers on this table. So
But if you come tonight, it's yours.
you can have it.
If
you can have it.
So it's available.
It's available.
Okay, great. Just what are the dimensions?
It's in the listing. It's 55 diameter.
Okay, good.
And it's about 4 feet high, and it's
Good.
really
Okay,
it's really nice.
Okay, awesome. And just remind me again what the price is.
That's also in the listing, $100.
Okay, good. Cool. Well, yeah, I'm not interested.
Okay. And he hung up on me, that fucking cunt. Michelle, this fucking sucks. Well, anyway, welcome to the show, everybody. If anyone's looking for a nice dining room table, a circular dining room table, I don't know why this is so difficult, but it is a good table. It's a good table. It's nice, and I'm being generous. Actually, I think $100 pick up. I've seen tables just like it for $200-$300. Well, welcome to the show. We have a lot to get into tonight. Elon Musk has become the world's first trillionaire. That's pretty cool, huh? But don't worry, everybody. It's not like he has $1 trillion access. It's not like he's got $1 trillion in his bank account. You guys don't understand finance, and you don't understand net worth, okay? He's worth $1 trillion if you take all his assets. If you take all his assets and add them up, that's his net worth. He doesn't have access to $1 trillion, okay? It's not like he can just get women pregnant and then pay them $100 million. It's not like he does stuff like that. He's not an actual, and also he could lose that money. He could lose that money at any point because he's trying to repopulate the world with his broken penis, and that's expensive. That's an expensive thing to do. I do think it is funny how a lot of these guys they want to be like Mr. Beast gave an interview recently, and he goes, "Yeah, I don't really know. I don't think I have that much money. I don't think I have I don't even have $100. Most of my money is." They always go, most of my money is tied up. It's tied up in the market, and it's in my investments and everything. And I don't really have any cash. I saw that his mom was on Twitter, and she said, you had you got a secondhand suit, and I bought you a tie. I bought you one tie because it was all we could afford. And they say that Elon tweets as his mom. Which is kind of funny. I don't know whether that's him or not, but they say that Elon inhabits the account that's his mother's, and Elon will go in and tweet as his mother and be like, "My son is the best, and my son does not have a broken penis. His penis is totally fine. This is Elon's mother." That is kind of funny though, because she was like, we're actually poor. We were actually poor when that happened, and even though his dad owned an emerald mine, it was a slow year. His slaves were not producing as much as they should have been that year, and it was tough time. It was tough times, for the Musk family. This is an interesting part. This is an interesting time in our history. Usually you don't see a lot of discourse about billionaires and wealth and earned wealth. That seems like people usually stay away from that. But this week it did feel like people had to weigh in and say something about this, right? The guy's got $1 trillion. That's a lot of money. And he's not even he's not even a guy that you would think, oh, that makes sense, right? He's not Jeff Bezos. Somebody like Jeff Bezos, you go, oh, I get it. Like, he owns Whole Foods, and that's a nice place to do your grocery shopping. That's a nice place to go in and get all your food. Jeff Bezos, he owns Amazon, right? Everybody buys everything off of Amazon. Amazon's that company where my wife orders, 10 packages every week. So that kind of makes sense. Amazon is like the biggest company in the world.
And most importantly, AWS. like
Amazon Web Services.
Basically every website you've ever used.
Every website you
uses
use. Okay. So it makes sense that Bezos would be the number one. That makes sense. But then Elon is number one, and you go, wait a minute. Well, what has Elon done? He's made cars that catch on fire. He made the Cybertruck. He made the Cybertruck. I think the Cybertruck, like, if you buy a Cybertruck, you become a virgin again. Like, you lose your status as non-virgin and you become a virgin. And you get to drive around in your little militarized virgin truck. And he's got the cars and he's got the rocket ships. And he's got he makes the rockets, and that's why he's wealthy, because of the rockets. Remember, he's got the rockets, and that is important because that is. And then he also has Twitter. So he also took a website. He took a pretty good website, and made it absolutely completely unusable. I don't even post on there anymore, really. He took something that was kind of like an interesting, it was like the town square. Everybody got to come in and give their opinions and everything. And it's just completely unusable. It really feels like the abandoned mall of websites. It feels like somebody should be making YouTube videos about the website formerly known as Twitter. And just how bleak it is. Now, if you don't mind, I was going to ask you to pull up a list of the richest people in the world, because I think Elon is number one. But then I noticed, this stuff is a scam, because here's the argument. They always go, I've seen two takes this week. One take is, a guy being really rich doesn't affect you. Why should you try to become wealthy? Or why don't you try to become wealthy? His success doesn't take away from you. And the other one is that, well, of course he has all that money because he adds so much value to the world. It's the value that he brings to the world. And but when you look at the list of billionaires.
You want the real-time list?
Give me the real-time list.
Number 1, Elon. Number 2 and 3 are Larry Page and Sergey Brin, the Google guys. Mm-hmm. Then Bezos. Then Michael Dell.
Mm-hmm. Now, Michael Dell is number 4, but has anyone...
He hasn't been in the...
What is he doing?
He used to not be in the top like this. It used to be like Bernard Arnault and family.
Right.
Larry Ellison.
Yeah.
And then Larry Page, Sergey Brin, Elon Musk, Bezos would all fluctuate amongst each other within those spots.
Uh-huh.
So it's always fluctuating because, like you said, it's net worth. Mm-hmm. So whatever the market's doing affects this. Mm-hmm. So sometimes Elon's 3, sometimes he's 1, sometimes he's 8. If you check, right now he's 1. Yeah. And that was a big deal.
But he's pretty far from, but 2 is pretty far away.
And Michael Dell kind of rose up.
But then Michael Dell, it's like, has anyone used a Dell computer since 2004? What does that guy do? What's Dell up to? Dell Computers? What is that?
First of all, a lot of people do use those computers.
Do they use them in schools or something?
Yeah, schools and offices. But also, he's not just selling the computers. It's also a lot of data. Mm-hmm. Dell's software arm bought one of the biggest microchip companies. Mm-hmm. What's it called? Broadcom.
How do you know that?
Broadcom was a huge company before Dell bought it.
Okay. And they're sending those laptops to public school.
Laptop is the plural.
Dad, I got laptop. Dad, we're learning lots of fun facts on laptop. That's where you learn about all the the inflated numbers. Dell computers, that's where you're learning. That's where you learn inflated Holocaust numbers. Anyway, I just kind of feel like this whole thing about the value, the whole thing about value is just a lie. But people go, Elon Musk brings so much value to the world.
Who says that? His bot farm?
Matt Walsh. Yeah, I guess his bot farm.
Yeah, that's mostly engagement bait. I don't think anyone actually believes the richest men on earth are bringing the most value.
Because you're right. You're right. This is kind of a boring conversation. It's kind of a tired conversation. Nobody works their way to $1 billion, and people have too much money and blah blah blah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's kids that believe that, but like no one seriously believes that. Adults.
So you're saying people just get on the internet and they say stuff they don't mean? Yeah.
Yes, people can lie for fun. I mean, you know what trolling is.
Mm-hmm.
That exists, but also now it's very lucrative,
Mm-hmm.
especially on his platform,
Mm-hmm.
X formerly known as Twitter.
It's crazy.
Incentives are perverse.
Yeah.
People are not always going to say the things that are the most true.
They should make laws against lying, to be honest. That you should be jailed if you lie. Do I have anything else to say about this Elon stuff? I mean, yeah, the guy's got $1 trillion. Everybody knows, everybody knows that's fucked up. Everybody thinks that sucks. You don't have to convince anybody. And yeah, but you know what? But that should make you grind harder. Actually, when you think about it, that should make you grind harder. A guy having $1 trillion, that means you can get an extra $4,000. You can get a little $4,000 cushion, Mike, in your savings account to just kind of take the pressure off a little bit. As you're raising your kid, you should be able to figure that out.
Also, it's important to remember that it's our money that's being pillaged for these satellite contracts and these failed rocket launches. They just shoot stuff in there and then they go, whoops, well, that one didn't work. Let's pour a bunch of money into the next one.
Right. They're just shooting metal into space.
I mean, SpaceX's whole thing is we're going to go to Mars.
Yeah.
So it's like a giant black box for that. And the satellites, SpaceX is covering, I guess it's not the sky. What's the word? The atmosphere? Whatever. Wherever the satellites go, they're covering that with satellites to see the world and spy on everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously this is ostensibly for connectivity and it's going to help you and all that stuff. But remember, it's like a giant surveillance company.
Yeah. And
the money comes from the government. It's not like this guy is pounding the pavement and making sales and, just being a good businessman. It's a government contract scheme.
It's just a shame that they tell people that and people think that that it's. I remember he did that he did some kind of loop in Vegas. Is that the Hyperloop? He told people he was going to do high speed rail. He was going to connect California with high speed rail. That was one thing. And I remember talking to a comic about that.
The Boring Company, Musk's famous tunnel under Vegas that really did nothing to ease traffic.
Well, he did a tunnel under Vegas that was
yeah.
it was just like a loop of Teslas, self-driving Teslas.
It's just
that went around in a
people
circle.
go slowly in Teslas underneath the city. It's really just like a tourist attraction. And they also have a tunnel on and near SpaceX headquarters. And Elon's whole pitch with it in the beginning was we're going to solve transportation. And if you read the company mission statement, it's all about this huge global solution. And we're going to solve this huge problem, which is traffic. And it's have you ever heard of a train?
And then he said he was going to build a train. Then he didn't. Meanwhile, China, they're building trains left and right over there. The whole country's connected by fucking high speed rail. I mean, we have to start thinking about I'm too old to think about this stuff, but we do have to start imagining some kind of other. We have to start demanding better. We have to start asking for trains. No, we need at least we need different billionaires, or we need to be we need to demand more trains. But then you think about like Rockefeller Center and Carnegie Hall and those guys were okay, we'll do some philanthropy. We'll give them a little drop in the bucket because we have so much. But these guys don't even build community centers or anything. There's not even they don't even put their names on a library.
Well, he would argue that X is the community.
I guess you're right. X is the community.
This is the town square. But it's it's not.
I guess he does have a point.
It's not an objective town square. It's it's an algorithmically controlled platform that is run like a private corporation, not a public utility. So it doesn't make sense at all.
Yeah, I guess if you're a Nazi Filipino twink and you can join X and find community, and you're oh, thank you, Elon. I love to be here, Mr. Musk. I love this website. I love this website that we gotta stop importing Islam. Please, Mr. Musk, no more Islam into this country. Do you have anything else on SpaceX?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important to remember the origins which is as much as Elon would want you to believe that he just woke up one day and had a brilliant founder idea and then executed it, the origins of the company are very intertwined with the government too. So it's not just that they currently get the government contracts, because remember, SpaceX was like the beginning of privatizing space. Like we always had space exploration, but now it's like a private thing.
But it used to be like a public.
Well, it used to be something that the country would do, and now it's like something that private companies do.
Right.
You know, you see that with Bezos's Blue Origin.
Right. They're like, listen up, everyone. We got the best Nazis. We got the finest rocket scientists from all over the world to take us to space.
And if we don't do this, the entire world's going to be
The
laughing at us.
Ruskies are going to go there first.
A ballistic missile defense program called Brilliant Pebbles, which was proposed in 1987. First, it was like smart rocks, and then it was a whole thing where it was like, oh, we don't need big smart rocks. We need a bunch of tiny, smaller, brilliant pebbles, whatever. What the pebbles really are satellites, right? So during the Cold War, they were like, we need a bunch of small satellites all over, and they should all be armed with missiles, and we're going to place them into low orbit so that they could be above the Soviet Union at all times. If the Soviets launch any of their missiles at us, you know, our pebbles, these satellites, will detect them and destroy them. And Michael Griffin, who was the deputy for technology of the Strategic Defense Initiative Organization, which was the missile program by the U.S. military, and in the 1980s, he joined NASA and was the chief engineer and associate administrator for exploration at NASA. Then he leaves NASA and has all of these executive posts in this aerospace area. But that's during that time is basically when he starts advocating for what SpaceX is doing now, which is covering Earth's low orbit in a constellation of sensors to intercept enemies' weapons. And in 2001, Michael Griffin is president of In-Q-Tel, which is the CIA's venture capital arm. Their whole thing is investing in technology to serve national security. Him and Elon Musk traveled to Russia together to buy some ICBMs. Russia's like, no. And reportedly, they're frustrated with this. Elon Musk is annoyed by this. And then they start this private company. So this failed trip to Russia is credited as leading to the formation of this private company, which is now SpaceX. So you have to remember that, like, this has always been a national security thing to cover low Earth orbit with satellites for surveillance purposes
For
the U.S. government,
Yeah.
for imperialist reasons. This is not for, you know, fun or for, you know, a lot of these space companies.
It's not
they
to
like
talk to aliens or anything.
Exactly. They like to talk about exploration and all of
right.
these like beautiful, you know, humanity things.
Yeah.
This has always been a national security thing.
Yeah.
Because people see Elon as just some kooky guy.
Right.
But he's just like the privatization arm of the U.S. empire space exploration.
And he must know that like X is full of Nazis now, right? He must know it. He must like it. But what is the connection between like being really, really rich and being like a Nazi? Like I think about that sometimes. Like why can't there just be like rich guys? Why do all rich guys end up being Nazis? Like,
there's always going to be dissident voices when the world sucks and everyone's poor and everything's in chaos and things are not good and no one has clean water and no one has like prospects and all of this stuff. Like things are going to be bad. There's always going to be like aggravation. So it's important to make sure that that gets channeled into anything but true organizing power. And so that ends up being like a bunch of kooky things, like one of them being like Nazi shit, focusing on race. And
it's like a divide and conquer type of thing.
For sure. Like dividing us along like racial lines or religious lines or anything. I mean, like I'm not saying anything groundbreaking at all.
But then I'm sure you start to believe it after a while. Like you start to believe that there's like there's an underclass and there's lesser people. You're one of the better people.
There is an underclass, but that doesn't mean that they're inherently lesser. It means that there's a structure in place to create a permanent underclass.
Or I guess you believe that they belong there, right? Because one of my uncle's favorite things to say is like, there's always going to be poor, stupid people. He loves talking about poor, stupid people. So I guess that's the beginning of that. You're like, I have to justify this position that I have in society, and
yeah,
you know.
They tell middle class people that poor people are stupid. They tell poor people that rich people are, you know,
Smart.
Jewish or whatever.
The Jewish, yeah.
Or whatever.
Yeah, they say anti-Semitism is class consciousness for idiots, right? It's like you're
so close.
You're close. You're
Right.
almost there.
And anti-Semitism, as much as, you know, people fearmonger it about it and stuff like in Congress and stuff like that, it is absolutely not a threat to the real power structure, which is why it's allowed to thrive.
I'm sure they kind of like it because they go, oh, I bet you do hate me. Yeah, you should. I bet you
And they
hate
go,
me because
yeah,
I'm better than
and
you.
the reason you hate me is because I'm Jewish,
'cause I'm
not
Jewish.
because I'm stealing all your money
Yeah.
and funneling it to privatizing space.
Right.
When you
Right.
literally don't have money to eat food.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with me sucking a baby's penis in a ritual, in a circumcision ritual. You see what I was going for there, right? Okay, so all right, 75
Sorry
billion.
I went on that tangent.
No, please,
but I
please
just feel
go
like
on a tangent.
it's so annoying because Elon is so in the zeitgeist now, and everyone laughs at him for being ugly and for being annoying.
Having a broken penis.
Yeah, being annoying on Twitter or having a baby mama or this and that. And I think it's like what's actually important is that he's privatizing space for the national security complex. And like that guy, Michael Griffin, he was NASA administrator after, and he like started the trend of giving SpaceX all of these $100 million contracts.
Right.
When SpaceX should have not even gotten a $1 contract. They hadn't proved a single thing. They'd never even fired a rocket. And like in 2006, they got like a $300-something million contract. So like all of that money that you see SpaceX using, that Elon is touting as like, look, I'm so amazing. That's your money. That's taxpayer money.
And why is he having so many kids? He just wants to like spread his seed. He's got like 10 or 11. Do Jews have a lot of kids? Which I'm fine with that. Totally cool with me.
Totally cool with me, except for a lot of them are living off of our taxpayer money.
Yeah,
again,
but that's all right.
In Israel.
Yeah, but you know,
and
let
getting
them,
free health care.
Yeah, but they went through the Holocaust.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, let them.
You don't want to start
not
policing when people could have kids. It's just like,
Yeah.
it's the whole picture that becomes annoying.
Yeah. Hey, I'm not trying to be obsessed over here.
Right,
You know?
right.
Yeah. I'm not trying to be fair to everyone. I would never. I'm not gonna go to upstate New York and do an investigation. Right. You know, I'm not gonna make content like that. That's none of my business. No. None of my business how many kids you have, what you're spending my tax money on. But isn't there a community upstate where they have like, they do like they're like all on welfare and they study the Torah?
Mike, you would love to be on welfare.
I would love to be on welfare.
You're just jealous. You need more kids.
Yeah, I do need more kids so I can get more welfare. I would love to call I think that's what Jimmy Carter did. But then when Ronald Reagan became president, he said, no. Listen, this is not going to happen. You're not, hey, not my problem how many kids you have. That's what my mom told me about Ronald Reagan. He was tough on the welfare. He was tough on the welfare queens. Yeah. But I guess I wouldn't mind. Should I apply? I should apply. It's kind of great though, because I don't, we've set up, like I don't need that much money, and I don't know, I'm just like, I could work more, but then I'd be sort of like, I'm almost at this perfect place in my life where I live in poverty, and it's great. It's great. It's awesome. Did you ever are you a Simpsons fan? There's an episode of Simpsons where Homer becomes 300 pounds so he can get on disability. But you know what's so annoying? And just going back to the Elon thing, I saw Matt Walsh say this week, he was like, the average, the bottom 2% is a drain on society, and they contribute no value. And I just feel like if you work at Taco Bell, your life is a net. If you're a janitor, your life is like a net positive. You're doing more for people than Elon. Overall, you're making more people happy, and you're not. And maybe you do have 10 kids, and but your penis is not broken. Your penis is not broken like Elon's. You see what I'm trying to get at here. All right, maybe we're done. Maybe we're done with that. Let's just move over. Let's move on to the Iran war. We lost another war. That's kind of cool. I mean, everybody knew this was going to happen. Afghanistan, we lost. That took us 20 years to lose. Iraq took us almost a decade to lose. But this was nice, and this was nice and quick. I think we spent about $75 billion on this war with Iran. It wasn't reported that much in the past couple weeks, and I think there's probably a reason, because we were losing. Listen, we spent $75 billion. We changed the Department of Defense to Department of War. $75 billion to shoot a missile at a school for girls. Many civilians were killed. And Iran said, "You know what? Fuck you. Talk to our missiles." This is the first time in my life. I think my whole life I've sort of had this idea. And Tim Dillon and I actually got into this on a podcast many, many years ago. He was saying, the United States, what are you talking about? We're a superpower. Nobody could beat us. We're the best army in the world. And these guys said, no, I don't think so. They said, fuck you. They said, we've been preparing for this for 20 years. We have a mosaic structure of our military. So we don't have we're not Saddam Hussein. We don't have a top down policy where it's mosaic. It's collective. It's everybody gets to participate. Every region has their own army. I think it would be the equivalent of like if somebody attacked the United States and like Florida had an army, Texas had an army, Vermont had an army, Washington, Oregon had an army, and it was just like, for a bunch of furries, but they could run their army however they want to, it's looking like we have to pay them. We have to pay them $300 billion. Michelle, is that a positive or a negative? Having to pay, bankrupting our country, is it good? Is this good long term that the American empire is starting to crack a little bit? $300 billion is a lot of money. They can shoot more missiles at Israel. It seems like everybody in Israel feels like they've been, betrayed by Donald Trump. They're very upset. We don't know if more Epstein stuff is going to come out because I know a lot of us weren't sure. A lot of us weren't sure if Donald Trump was a child molester, or it's kind of, it hasn't been in the news in a while. So we might have. He actually might even not be if we haven't heard about it in a little bit. It might be just that might have been like an oopsie, and maybe we owe him an apology. I'm not sure, but I guess it'll be interesting to see what happens. But this is the first time that someone has stood up to the United States. And I think they did everything right. I think they did those Lego videos were great. The shooting missiles to Israel were great. Hitting all those civilian targets in Tel Aviv. I mean, that was awesome. We like that. We like when they hit civilians. War, I guess war does make you lose your humanity a little bit, and what are you going to do? It's war. What are you going to do? War is tragic. You're going to make me watch a genocide for 2 years. I'm going to go, oh no, they hit a Dave and Buster's. They hit a Dave and Buster's in Tel Aviv. What a bummer. Oh man, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry for your loss. And then I saw another post. Somebody said all those military bases that were destroyed in the Gulf countries, they're not getting those back. They're not rebuilding those, right? At least not for a while. So it's hard because it's hard to get the information, and it's hard to, the information is not always out there about what American empire actually looks like and how, where we're at, how strong we are, if we've been weakened, if we're not, if it's possible. But I do like to remain optimistic for the future. I think more and more people are kind of going like, okay, this is bullshit. There's two capitalist parties in this country that they're both, and maybe one doesn't molest kids, but they're both killing kids. Yeah. Well, Joe Biden. Yeah, Biden. Yeah, for sure. And Clinton. Yeah. And then his wife eats them. Well, from what I understand, Clinton and Rabin tried to do a deal in like the early 90s. Rabin was assassinated by a Likud party member, of course. And then Arafat, there was something with Arafat where like they made him they brought him to the UN and they made him he was ready to sign this deal, and he's looking at it. There's footage of this somewhere, and he's looking at it and he's going like, they added something. He's looking at it and he goes, he just doesn't sign the papers. He doesn't sign the papers, and then they go, hey, what the fuck are you doing? What's the matter? You don't want progress? You don't want peace? Of course. But Clinton tried in the early 90s there was an agreement, and then when Ehud Barak was president, they tried to do another deal. So Clinton's whole thing is we're trying to give them a state, and I guess I saw another post because my mom has been sending me she's been sending me a ton of Bill Clinton videos. Bill Clinton said this. Bill Clinton said this about Arafat, and I guess Arafat seems like a very maligned figure. Probably not obviously not a perfect leader. And then Bill Clinton would be like, I bent over. He's like, I bent over backwards to try to make a deal. They tried to make a deal and they wouldn't do it. Because they're Arabs and they're very irrational. But apparently one time Arafat said to Bill Clinton, he goes, "You're a great man." And Bill Clinton goes, "No, I'm a failure because of you." So even Clinton kind of believes that, but they're very good at, you got to give them credit, the Israelis are very good at like deception, They're very good at, and because there's a documentary about this, about the Oslo Accords, and there's an interesting thing in the beginning when they first started talking, when they first kind of like, it's very interesting because you go like, who was that? Was anybody acting in good faith? That's the question that you want to ask. Was anybody acting in good faith? And did the people who lived in Israel, who maybe lived there for like 50 years and whose grandparents were Holocaust survivors, who kind of like came over and didn't know the full story, were they like, oh, finally we can have peace with our neighbors? Was there any of that? Because in the early 90s, so many people kind of like poured into the streets like when they thought they were going to get a deal done. And I think the deal was, probably like the West Bank and Gaza. But there were like 1 million people in the street, like celebrating, So I guess that's the interesting thing is like, are they working? But it's but that was an interesting thing because like they shook hands. They were at the White. There's a famous picture of Yitzhak Rabin, Yasser Arafat, and Bill Clinton, and they're like, But if you watch the video, Rabin like goes over to Arafat and like just goes like this and kind of walks like you could tell Arafat's kind of genuinely happy to be there, and Rabin is just kind of like, yeah, like you're a disgusting, just looks at him like you're a disgusting, dirty terrorist who's on my lawn. But then I guess my question is like, if you have, and this isn't something I'm an expert on or anything, but if you have an entity that has always been, genocidal, and they steal land and they're fascist and they're always expansionist, then like, is it realistic to think that you're like, oh, we stopped them, Is that realistic? Probably not. To think that you can give Hitler, a piece of a little bit of Czechoslovakia and part of Poland, and he'll go, thanks. All right, fine. I'll take what I can get. It's almost like when your son is severely addicted to the iPad, right? And you go, all right, buddy, 5 more minutes. And he goes, yeah, of course. And then when you take the iPad away, he screams, But you said, yeah, of course. You said, of course, yeah. I go, all right, fine, 10 more minutes, And then before you know it, he's committing crimes. He's literally committing crimes and being a sex pest because he was on the iPad too much. You have to take a firm line. And I did that the other morning. I said, no more iPad. We're going to listen to music this morning, and we're going to play catch or something. And it was a nice morning. And that's a reminder to all you dads out there to take a firm line with these kids. And your wife, too. Dude, Deb told me a story about she was doing speech therapy for this family, and like she thinks the dad is like kind of a dud. And she heard the dad in the other room talking to his older daughter. And he says to the older daughter, he goes, oh, I just want to like be on my phone. I'm like, that's pathetic behavior. But sometimes, if you're making dinner or something, or you got work to do, or you got show prep to do, you want to just give them the iPad. I read this column in Al Jazeera. It was some Trump guy, and he's talking about like, actually, Iran was a win. We won in Iran, and it's just like boomer. It's spin. It's boomer cope. It's there's a rogue state who they can't get a nuke now, and we damage their facilities and blah blah blah. And I'm reading this. I'm like, I know this is how my dad thinks. And it's only, I want to remind everybody, it's only boomers who are on board with this war. It's only boomers and Zionists who think that attacking Iran was a good idea. And Hillary Clinton, by the way. Girl boss Hillary Clinton. who's a boomer and a Zionist. Yeah, but she's a special, because we were supposed to vote for her in 2016, or we were sexist. So only boomers are for this war. I was thinking about the boomer brain. I know we make fun of boomers a lot on the show, but I'm thinking about the boomer mindset. And I was on Instagram the other day, and a clip from Everybody Loves Raymond popped up. Okay, and Raymond is, there's a scene where have you ever seen that show? Okay. Everybody Loves Raymond was a show about an Italian family who lived on Long Island. He was a sports writer. He was married to a woman named Deborah. His parents lived across the street, and his brother lived with them. And his brother's Brad Garrett. Everybody Loves Raymond was a show about a husband who lived on Long Island. And a friend of the show, Tommy Bayer, has a joke about this. Almost every episode, he would like beg his wife for sex. That was a big part of the show. He would go almost every episode, and you're watching it as like a 9-year-old kid with your family, and you're watching this guy go, Deborah, can we have sex? Come on, Deborah, let's have sex. Like, there's an episode where she does have sex with him, and then he keeps trying to like get back into her good graces, but he's kind of a shitty husband. Like, his mom lives across the street, and his mom was like really mean and critical of. That's like the whole thing with the show, right? My mother is critical of my wife, and I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do because my mother doesn't like my wife's lasagna. Tell your mother to go fuck herself. That's what you do, you fucking cuck bitch. You're a married man now, and your mommy, and you're scared of your mommy, you fucking cunt. But this show is successful because that's the boomer mentality. I mean, my grandmother, I love my grandmother very much, my Italian grandmother, my dad's mother. But I know she gave my mother a hard time. I know she was critical of my mother. And my
Because she hated herself.
Yeah, I don't know what, I mean, that's just, I guess that was like the culture. I mean, it was a popular show. It was a very popular show. And I'm very hyper vigilant of my mom's relationship with Deb. I'm very, you know what I mean? My mom isn't like that. My mom's very, very kind to my wife, luckily. But if she wasn't, there'd be no question about whose side I would take. But the fact that it was played as like this dilemma, like, oh, my mom. And the only one who stood up to Marie, the mom, was the dad, who was played by Peter Boyle. He would sometimes kind of like stick up for Deborah. But you have this guy, Ray, who and Ray Romano himself. Now, I think the show was made by this guy, Phil Rosenthal, who is a pretty big Zionist. I think Phil Rosenthal's a Zionist. So you're kind of connecting the dots here, right? He's a weird looking guy. He kind of looks like a species of salamander, a little bit. Weird looking guy. But like I said, it's a show about a guy who's afraid of his mother, and he begs his wife for pussy. And there was a clip that came on my Instagram, and there's a thing where it was like a whole thing where Deborah's mad at Ray because Ray got a tape recorder and started tape recording Deborah. So Deborah finds out about the tape recorder, and she goes, instead of you trying to be a better husband, you're tape recording me so you can have evidence, you can use it against me, right? This is and then she's like chasing him around the house, and he like falls on the floor. Ray falls on the floor while Deborah's yelling at him. And I think that like those are the kind of people who want to go to war with Iran. Right? I'm a pathetic cuck who's afraid of my mother. But my dad fought in World War II. My dad defeated the Nazis. I got out of Vietnam. I didn't have to go to Vietnam. And I'm afraid of my wife, and I beg my wife for pussy, and I'm afraid of my mother. And let's bomb Iran. Deborah, we got the Ayatollah. He's dead. Deborah, we killed him. Raymond, we killed the Ayatollah. Raymond, there's a new guy. There's a new Ayatollah, and he's gay. Well, we're gonna have to kill him too. I love being American. I love being American. I love living on Long Island, and I'm a cuck. I'm a cuck who's afraid of my wife and afraid of my mother. But I am bloodthirsty. I love blood. I want to see blood. I'm out for blood. I'm out for Arab and Muslim blood. Give me more. Give me more. I can't get enough. And these are the people that, still have some political power in this country. And they are the weak men who are created by good times, and they love war. And we don't like. I don't think we like war. I think people my age and younger, we don't like war. We understand. We're not into war. There's always war, and I don't think we'll ever be done with war. Unfortunately, there was World War I. People were on board with that. You kind of forget. People thought, people did that. People participated in World War I. There's World War II, and then there was Vietnam right after World War II, 20 years after World War II. There's Korea right after World War 2 years after World War II. There was Korea. So I guess there's always going to be war, but perhaps it'll be different. I don't know, but it'll be the kind of war that people. Gen Alpha will be fighting the wars, I guess. Gen Alpha will be fighting the wars, and we won't have a population of boomer style people who go, give me blood, bomb the school. Yes, I don't care how many kids are killed because I don't even like my own kids, and hopefully we'll see what happens. We'll see. We gotta start imagining a better world. We're gonna go over to Patreon right now, and I think let's do that. Let's imagine a better America. Let's imagine the collapse of the American empire. Think about what that's gonna look like. We'll see you over on Patreon. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Oh, and
God bless.
paid
Bye-bye.
episodes are now also on Spotify, in addition to being on Patreon and YouTube, they already are. But if you are a Spotify native person, you can find the paid episodes there now too.
It's only $5, and it goes a long way.
Yeah, I think it's
I'm not begging or
$4.99.
anything. I'm just saying.
We're not begging
Because I couldn't sell that table, so
we need 20 new patrons.
We need 20 new patrons every single month
to cover the table.
To cover the table, yeah. Yeah, so get on it. Thank you very much. God bless. Good night. Bye-bye.